Meantime, retail continuing, of course, to get hit by the coronavirus. A new report by Cowen showing that total U.S. retail traffic for the week ended March 27th was down, as you might imagine, a whopping 97% year over year. And the market caps of retailers are plummeting across the board, with Macy's getting kicked now out of the S&P 500. It's also a big employment story here. Yesterday's ADP report showing retail is one of the hardest hit sectors by coronavirus. We're, of course, waiting for today's 8:30 jobless claims report, with economists expecting another 3 million plus new unemployment filings. Joining us for a look now at whether the retail sector can overcome these coronavirus hurdles, challenges, call them what you will. Steve Sadove is the former chairman and CEO of Saks, also former chairman of the National Retail Federation. Steve, great to have you on the program this morning. This is going to be the challenge sector. E-commerce may be holding up in some regards, but I think there's a real question as to whether there's going to be a step change, a forever step change when it comes to retail in store.
I think there's going to be some fundamental changes to the longer-term business model. This is an existential threat to retail. You're going to have winners and losers, but it's awful hard to run a business for a long period of time with no revenue. And you're seeing with 97% traffic declines, you have some internet business going out the door, but there's no way that it's even close to making up for the lost revenue in the stores. 85% or so of volume is done in a physical store still. So, retailers are now in a mode of liquidity, cash. How are they going to survive?
Well, so that's my question. I think there's two questions. One is, does what is a liquidity crisis today become a solvency crisis tomorrow? How long do you think, when you look at the balance sheets of some of the big retailers and then the small retailers out there, how long can they really go?
Well, it really depends upon the condition of the retailer coming into this. The highly leveraged retailers, those that were running 4 or 5 times or more debt to EBITDA, are going to have a hard time surviving. What they're all doing, whether they have a strong or weak balance sheet, is they're cutting receipts, they're cutting labor, cutting other costs like marketing, they're slowing payments, they're not paying rent, they're cutting down on future orders, they're controlling what they can control. And that's having an impact not only on themselves. They're not paying the landlord. Their vendors aren't getting paid. And the ones that are weak are going to have a very short time that they're going to be able to survive this. I was encouraged yesterday by the governor of Ohio. Well, I mean, look, there are companies, companies like I put a Neiman Marcus into that kind of a category, a J. Crew, potentially a J.C. Penney. These are all companies that have a lot of leverage and were in trouble or troubled balance sheets before this came along. Now it makes it even more difficult for a company like that to survive. What you do have, though, is you had the governor of Ohio yesterday, for example, do an executive order encouraging landlords to forego rent for 90 days, for lenders to forego payments from landlords for 90 days for troubled retailers to be able to help get through this. A lot of companies are going to come out of this fine, but you can't survive this forever. I think the real question today we've got to deal with, how do you get through this? How do you survive, maintain cash, have liquidity, go down on your revolver, make sure that you get through to the other side? Then the issue is, what's the new model? When is it going to turn? You hear wildly different stories in terms of what the recovery pace is going to be. Everybody's at this point assuming that you're not going to get the retails open until another 8 weeks or 6-8 weeks to open up. And then it's, what's the pace of recovery? Is it a V? Is it a U? Is it a long bottomed U? And what's going to happen
but that's what I was going to ask you, Steve.
Go ahead.
There's so many economists out there there are economists out there that do have this view that there's going to be so much pent-up demand because people have that, that basically it's just going to get not pulled forward, but pulled back effectively. Do you think that's true or not, given the other side of this, which is the unemployment piece?
Well, I think we're in uncharted waters. I think that there will be some demand, but if you look at the Chinese experience, you're going to see stores will be open, but the recovery will be slower than some people think. I'm not assuming that the fourth quarter is going to be wildly large. I do think it'll start to it will recover. You'll start to see volumes getting closer to a normalized. If I had to pull a number out of the air, I don't know, is brick and mortar going to be down 30% from a year ago in the fourth quarter? Maybe. Maybe it'll be stronger. I mean, we've never seen this before, and it's a question of how quickly people get back to work, stores get open, and companies have to really think hard about how much do they buy for the holiday season, because you really don't know what the demand is going to be. If you buy too little, then it's going to be self-fulfilling because they won't have enough product to be selling. But if you buy too much, then you're going to be really running a risk of more inventory in the system. Right now, you've got a dead spring season, so you have a massive amount of excess inventory that's sitting in the system today that has to be cleared. So this is going to be a collaboration between, you need the landlords to help the retailers in terms of their rent payments. You need the lenders to help the landlords. And I think the consumer, which is the key to this whole thing, I think the initiatives with the CARES Act helped a lot but we need to get the dollars into people's hands because, you look at the number of, we're going to see a jobless unemployment number this morning, but look at the number of layoffs that you had this week alone. You're going to have
Steve,
1 out of 4 jobs in America are tied to retail.
Steve, how concerned are you about some of the worker stoppages at places like Amazon and elsewhere where you have workers that are worried about their own safety, health concerns and whatnot inside some of these warehouses? They're on the front line getting so much of this material and product to people, essential items. And we're starting to hear stories that are real challenges for some of these companies. What do you think has to happen here, and how concerned should we or not be?
I'm concerned for the people to begin with. Everybody. I'm concerned for healthcare workers. I'm concerned for anybody on the front line needs to be working in as safe an environment as possible. We need to have the goods flowing. We also, I'm holed up in our apartment in Miami and not going out much, and we need to have delivery of food and goods and packages. So that's an important part of keeping this going, but we want to make sure that everybody's as safe as possible. And in the healthcare workers, we have the same issues. So I think it's our responsibility to make sure, and the company's responsibilities to make sure that the employees are as safe as they possibly can be, and that's distancing and making sure that everything is clean, and that ships that if you do have an issue, maybe you separate one ship from another. But, this is tough. It's a tough time that everybody's facing right now.
Right.